And welcome to the sports show with me, your host, Emdad Rahman. We're going live during our lunch break today. And I've got a very special guest here in the studio with me, somebody who's actually been interviewed with me in the past, but such are his achievements and his inspiration that I've invited him back into the studio again. And you'll find out during the course of the show. So this is Emdad Rahman on the sports show with Vod Talk. We are live. If you are following us or watching this interview or this show using one of our live links, please do share, please do subscribe to our channel and follow us on various social media such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so forth. So my guest today is none other than a youngster. We actually grew up in the same estate, literally a few hundred yards away from each other. He's significantly younger than me, but as I mentioned during a speech at one of his fantastic events during the course of the last weekend, I have known his family forever. I see him more as a younger brother, and I've always done so, even now. And I say this with the greatest admiration and respect for him as well. So we have none other than Abdul Hannan, formerly of Brawlers. Welcome to the studio, Abdul Hannan.
Assalamu alaikum. Pleasure to be here.
And thank you very much for joining us. So what we're going to do today is, again, talk about your fantastic career. Let's call a spade a spade. You're humble where it needs to be, but sometimes what we need to do in shows like this and on platforms like this is talk about people in the highest regard, give them their dues, because this is not a case of praising someone to the skies, hoping that they will fall flat on their faces. But the only reason why we come onto these shows and we host these shows and we have voluntarily agreed to come on these shows and participate and anchor is so that the wider community can benefit. So there are potentially hundreds and thousands of Abdul Hannans within our community who just need that little bit of a push, who need to witness a catalyst in their lives. And this could be it. And this is the reason why we strive day in, day out as volunteers to benefit not only ourselves, but more importantly, so our community. So one of the reasons why I invited you, Coach, is to talk about your new venture. Before we go into that, people who are watching you now, obviously they can see that you've got emblazoned across your chest wonderful logo, which I'm very pleased that you presented me with my own named and personalized one during the weekend as well. We'll talk about that. But just to touch on the fact that your sporting journey, you've always been very fit, agile, lithe, athletic as an individual. But your significant moment in life came when you, as the co-founder and at the beginning, when you started up with other people in the community, the well-known organization Brawlers Boxing. What pushed you into that genre and that discipline?
So Brawlers Boxing was a community interest company. It was a CIC company. The sole purpose behind Brawlers Boxing was to inspire young people using boxing as a tool. We wanted to give young people a platform where they could be themselves, where they could learn the sport of boxing and at the same time have a club atmosphere. Brawlers Boxing was inspired after the 2012 Olympics. We wanted to do something that will resonate with the young people in our area. So we wanted to use boxing as a mechanism to inspire and at the same time give young people some sort of productivity. As you know, in Hamlets, antisocial behavior, drug abuse, children falling off the rails quite high. So me as a youth worker, I wanted to do something to help my community. So this was the sole aspect of Brawlers Boxing. We were registered as a not-for-profit company. Our sole intention was to better the community using sports. So that was the fundamentals of Brawlers Boxing.
And just in terms of discipline, what did you need to do to adapt to the harsh world, should we say, of boxing? Were you already quite disciplined as an individual, or were you middle of the road, or were you neither here nor there? And what did you need to do to ensure that you had the discipline? Because it's not a joke, joining a boxing club and taking up boxing as a sport or as a hobby, whichever. What did you need to do to adapt yourself?
Personally, my journey started in 2004, watching the Athens Olympics. I saw Amir Khan on TV. That's one of the first time I saw an Asian face representing, the Asian community in boxing. And I thought to myself, is Amir Khan 17 and I'm 14. If he can do boxing, I can do it. And that sort of inspired me and pushed me to start my boxing career. Starting off boxing, I was quite arrogant. I thought full of myself. I thought I can go in there and do whatever I want. But through the years and over the time, you learn discipline, you learn dedication. And boxing teaches you that. It teaches you to be humble because a routine is in place. We come to training, we rest, we're running, we're having the right foods, and we're constantly being monitored and guided by our coaches. And this is a credit to my coach, Lee Hammersley, who put in a great deal of effort in guiding us and inspiring us to be great role models in the community. He gave me a platform. So likewise, I took that same values that I learned of Lee and I adapted it into my own version. And it's a lot more harder in the Asian community, solely because our parents do not want us to do mixed martial arts or martial arts, if you like to call it, because it involves striking, it involves hitting one another. But boxing is a safe sport. So firstly, it's not fighting, it's a sport. There's rules and regulations in place, taking into precaution the safety of the participants. So it took me a long while to encourage and allow the parents, allow the community members to educate them, first of all, to create awareness, secondly, and last but not least, to inspire the young people to join and try a new sport.
Just how important, coach, is it for parents, educators, coaches to use sports as a medium to not only influence young people as well, but to help them stay away from things like antisocial behavior and activities?
I think if they put in, out of 100%, if they put in 60% say in education, I would say a hand on my heart, 40%, the other 40% needs to be physical therapy. What's happening in our society is young people are being pressured into gaining good results, and they're not finding a way to relieve the pressure that builds up. And sometimes this creates dilemmas, creates problems of young people having low self-esteem. There's been many cases where I've dealt with of children being pressured, self-harm, which is very high in our community. There's many other issues. So what sports does, it gives young people a platform. Firstly, to relieve of any pressure that's building up in their lives, the pressure from the parents, the pressure from society, the pressure from the community, from the friends. Many young people are having identity crises. So what we do, using sports as a mechanism, is we give young people a platform and they say it's okay. We encourage them, we motivate them. And at the same time, using physical therapy, young people can relieve some of the stress that's happening from life. And it's a great way to re-energize young people, give them the self-confidence. I can say many case studies, many stories where young people joined our services and they benefited highly in great regard. In academics, in Islamic studies, in life in general, because what we're teaching here is discipline and dedication. We're telling them, if you are disciplined and dedicated, and you take the same values that you in boxing and you apply it to your life, whether it be your religious studies, whether it be your education, that same discipline, that focus, and that dedication, if they can use that and drive into their lives, they will be successful.
Brilliant. Sounds brilliant. So during the course of your career as a successful sporting coach, not only have you trained yourself as well, but in various settings in gyms, you also, I remember, used to deliver sessions at the Tarling Estate Community Centre as well, and in schools as well. How productive or how fruitful did you find it working with young people?
So At the London Enterprise Academy, I used to work as a student mentor. At the Tarlingus Community Centre, I was a senior youth worker. So my profound skill was boxing, as known in the community. So when I used to do my youth work interventions or my mentoring sessions, I used to use boxing as a significant platform. So my session would involve physical activity, exerting young people's energy, and in the last 15 minutes, I will have a one-to-one discussion like I'm having with you. And that time, when young people are tired, they're exerting their energy, they're all ears. They want to listen. They want to listen to the advice. For example, if I have a mentoring session, it's 50 minutes of me giving advice. Sometimes it goes through one ear, comes out the other ear. Whereas if you're engaging with a young person individually using sports, that you build that rapport, you build that connection with that person, you build that trust. Once you build that trust, the young people gains confidence, and then you can use your mentoring sessions or the advice that you give more productively. In Thai Hamlets, I've delivered many sessions. Again, my session would involve. I've delivered AQA accredited programs, even England boxing programs. What I would do in my programs is ensure that I have a 15 minutes slot where I would advise young people on life or certain subjects.
So this mark of a good coach or a brilliant coach, some people would say, is the ability to adapt to differing needs. As a coach myself, I wouldn't say I'm a brilliant coach, but a few of the key things that I've adopted during my journey is A, number one, to be adaptable. B, never to think of myself as the complete subject. Number three, I try to have the attitude always, I would say probably 99% of the times I've succeeded, is I am there as a mere shepherd, but I've also been chosen by the sheep themselves. And I'm not saying this using negative connotations, this is just an example. So the coach has, if I am the shepherd coach, I've been chosen by the sheep, not being me imposing myself on the sheep. And the attitude I've kept, if you agree with me, has always been that I learn a lot more from those who I am shepherding, i.e. coaching, mentoring, especially when it comes to community coaching. You're not just a coach because you're not getting paid for it.
Yeah.
99% of the time, you're not getting paid for it. Number two is passion driven. You want to see a change made in terms of their holistic nature, their behavior, their discipline, their school results. And the added bonus is if that child or those children or those young people actually make it in the professional arena, that's an added bonus.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. But if the children that you're coaching, mentoring, advising, counseling in your capacity as a coach,
Yep.
and they become good, rounded human beings who refrain from antisocial behavior and activities, would you say that's a success?
100%.
Completely agree. Thank you, Coach. I'm very pleased to hear that. And that's what we as coaches do. Now, along the way, you've picked up a few accolades and awards. You've received recognition. For the benefit of our viewers, many of whom will be young, some will be at school now. You know, we're doing this on our lunch break, but some will be but they will be following this up later by watching the link as well. Can you tell us briefly about some of the accolades and recognition that you've received?
So, Brawlers Boxing, at the time, we was a social movement. We did really well with the young people. It accumulated a lot of numbers. So many young people were participating in our sessions. 2015, I believe, we won the Thai Hamlets Community Safety Awards given by the Metropolitan Police and the Borough Commander. Following year, we was a finalist for the English Asian Business Awards for Brawlers Boxing. So these awards that we received was not a recognition of me or recognition, but it's the recognition of the young people taking part. Our teachers and our elders always say, don't be so happy or don't be so don't have pride that students are, you get loads of students. Be happy that you're getting the opportunity to teach. Do you see? So I've always kept that in mind. especially me. And the reason why I'm so passionate is growing up in the early 90s, we went, I went through some difficulties. I had to make a decision whether I would spend my pound having lunch or going boxing. And my decision was to go boxing sometimes. So I made a promise to myself that I would ensure that no young people will face difficulty in their hamlets. They'll have the privileges, they'll have the services for them to learn boxing, and that's why I think was the reason why it was successful. That because of what we felt and what we went through, the hardship, we didn't want others to feel that. And when you put yourself forward, like Muhammad Ali used to say, your rent on this world is service to others, service to humanity. And this is what it's a great quote that I live by. Is that my place on earth is I have to give rent for it, and my rent is that I have to serve the people, serve the community, especially if I have been given a task of responsibility. I feel it a burden upon my shoulders not to.
Wonderful words. So, Coach, what he did was he touched on some very, very important points. And one of the things which he mentioned, which struck a chord with me, was if he had a pound, would he go and spend it on fast food or sweets, probably, or boxing? It's a situation I see a lot of the times with homeless people, for example. So when I'm cycling, doing my Back London duties, what Coach just said there, it resonates very, very strongly with a lot of us. So when we were growing up, money was very tight, Coach.
Yep.
So having a pound, it presented a massive dilemma.
Yeah.
Do we spend it on sweets, marbles, playing cards, football stickers, you name it? Or do we go and spend it on a sporting activity? For someone to do that, that's a major, major step and a decision to make. So as parents or educators, if you're watching this as well, please bear in mind, nowadays we have a lot of poverty in our community as well, but we also have a lot of well-to-do parents who will spend and invest in their children's sporting prowess to help develop them as rounded individuals. They also recognize the fact that despite their children being academically gifted, to take them onto the next level, it requires them to have some sporting prowess and to be involved in some kind of physical and sporting activity at the same time. So parents do invest that as well. But like I said, a lot of the times when children are left to their own devices, they have to be very, very driven to make the decision. So it's like the example I use of the homeless person. And I always say, Coach, if you see somebody sitting outside there in Tesco, don't give them the money because they've got so many issues in their lives. Alcohol addiction, drug addiction, abuse, domestic violence, no food, no clothing. There could be underlying trauma. They're trauma anyway because they're homeless, but there could be a whole host of issues there. You give them a fiver with the best will in the world, Coach. Can you guarantee they're going to spend it on food?
No.
You can't because there are issues. And what you do is, by being kind, you actually put them in a very, very difficult position. So sometimes what it is better for us, people like you and me, for example, who are fortunate enough to be in that position to say, right, you know what? I'm going to get myself a meal deal sandwich, drink, fruit, or snack from the superstore. Would you like the same?
Yeah.
So you take that responsibility out because once you place money in their hands, they may not spend it because their addictions will get the better of them. So, Coach, what you've done recently is a phenomenal project that you're involved with, and that's we're going to come onto that now, is a Grapple Hub. So it was an honor and pleasure for me to be invited by yourself to your launch, which was last weekend. And it's based on Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Yep.
So my first question is, if you could just elaborate a little bit and give us an idea of what exactly Brazilian Jiu Jitsu or Jiu Jitsu is in general.
Jiu Jitsu means the gentle art. It stems from Japan. It has Japanese origins. And then it grew into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Likewise, Bruce Lee, when he started with Wing Chun. And then he learned karate. He adapted his own martial arts called Jeet Kune Do. So similar concepts. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu stems from Japanese Jiu Jitsu. molded into version of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. It's a mix. It's a martial arts that involves submission, takedowns, and arm locks. It, the art itself is on the ground. You start standing up, two competitors standing up, but the match goes to the ground, and most of the time the match finishes on the ground. So there's three ways. There's control, there's position, and there's submissions. You can win either by points, or like boxing, you can win by points, or you can win by knockout. So the knockout in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a submission, where you force an opponent to tap. So yeah, this is just a gist of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's other concepts of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You have a variation of gi, where you wear a kimono. It's like a jacket, a uniform. You have no gi, where it's you don't wear the uniform. Then you have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for self-defense. And then what's common now in our young people is the Jiu-Jitsu that they see in mixed martial arts, in UFC. Khabib, for example, he dominates his opponent using sambo, using wrestling, using Jiu-Jitsu. So this is another form of Jiu-Jitsu.
Is it generally a safe sport to participate in? So I know, because some of our viewers will be saying, well, the way these guys smash each other into the ground,
Yeah.
and you described it very well. You start from a standing position, you end up on the floor as well.
Yeah.
So if a parent asks me now, yeah, I saw both you coaches having a discussion around jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But first impressions, we're very impressed, but it looks very, very dangerous as well. What would you say?
So the terminology of Jiu-Jitsu is called the gentle art. That's what it means, the gentle art. It's referred to the chess of all mixed martial arts. The reason why they said it, because it's so practical, it's so theory driven. This is very, very technical sport. So the reason why they call it the gentle art, because you as an individual have the capacity to apply the pressure.
Right.
Meaning it gives you the responsibility of how hard or how fast or how slow you go. That's why it's called the gentle art. So when we train people in Jiu-Jitsu, we instill the same values of, flow. Like Bruce Lee famously said, water can rush and water can flow. So be like water. That's the same concept that we're teaching.
So what I like about the way you've moved, and I explained briefly to the viewers just a little earlier, is about the sports coach. So the role of the sports coach is it's so underrated. People fail to realize that the sports coach is not only a sports coach is a mentor, is a counselor, and often also in many cases, and we've seen these live cases as well, they also take on the role of parents.
Yes.
Because of lack of a parental figure, or lack of parental figures, or irresponsible absent parents, or parents who just don't have these skills. Don't forget, not all parents are perfect. No one is perfect, but some parents are generally struggling to. So the role of the coach is very, very important. So I like what you said. I mean, we sit on the same wavelength when it comes to this, that you know what it is, you adapt to a sport, you move on. If you need to study a different discipline, you do that. What made you choose jiu-jitsu?
So it took me approximately 10 years to find jiu-jitsu. I did actually try jiu-jitsu once in 2015, and I sort of laughed and brushed it off. I said, what is this? Because I was so profound in boxing and striking. So I did boxing for 10 years. Then I did Muay Thai. I even went to Thailand. I did a camp there for 2 weeks. I trained Muay Thai. And then, because I was quite naive, just to think I'm just going to be striking focused. Eventually, I needed a new energy. I was running out of options. Here's me doing boxing, Muay Thai. I did calisthenics. I did free running.
What is calisthenics? Can you
calisthenics is a new wave of activity or sport is coming up. When I was growing up, it was coming up. I did try it. Then I thought it wasn't for me. Calisthenics is basically a activity where people do pull-ups, different moves, muscle ups, using the own body weight, using a bar. As you can see in Hamlet Star, so many parks opening that has bars and that has different apparels that you could use. And this is calisthenics, using your own body weights, using what you have around you to exercise, being free of gym, which is amazing. You don't need a gym to exercise. You don't need a hub. You can use your own body weight. You can use whatever you have around you. And this is calisthenics. So yeah, I did calisthenics for a while. I did free running as well. Free running is when you're using jumping off building, like not buildings, as in running and using objects and jumping off. They have a
Is it like parkour?
parkour, yeah. It's like parkour.
Wow. Okay.
Parkour. They have a studio which I used to go and train at. So I was running out of options. See, like what could I do? What could I do? So my friend Shah, he was also a student of Brawlers Boxing. He goes, look, H, I've started jiu-jitsu. Doing it for a month. Come and try it. So that's when I thought, you know what? It was a new year. It was a new year. I think it was 2017. And it was in January. I thought, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to give it a go. And boom, I fell in love with it.
And that's it. You've fallen head over heels in love with the discipline. I sometimes call it discipline. I can sometimes call it a sport, because I think there's different and appropriate methods and, should we say, terms to describe such a great art. So the gentle art, you've made fantastic progress. You came in contact. So before we actually move on to the Grapple Hub, so you came in contact with the renowned coach, Bradley Hill. Can you tell us about how you were introduced to him? So I've done my research on Coach Bradley Hill. I know what he's about, but I would prefer it if you let our viewers know.
So Bradley Hill is a renowned coach, a great role model for me. At his age of 27, at the time he became black belt. I think he was 21. He was the youngest black belt in the country. I think that was done later, taken over. But he's still now the youngest second degree black belt. So what a degree means is once you reach black belt, which roughly takes 10 years in jiu-jitsu, every 3 years you get a degree on your black belt.
Every 3 years?
Yeah. So he's on his second degree. So he's been a black belt for 6 years. And he's 27 years old. Bradley Hill trained under Victor Estima and Braulio Estima in Birmingham, who were they're based in Birmingham. That's where he's learning jiu-jitsu from. He took the skills from these excellent coaches. He's adapted his own mechanism. He's created his own style. He's one of the new inspired British. He wants to give a British Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. You know, British Jiu Jitsu.
Yes.
He wants to put it on the scene. You know, he wants to make Jiu Jitsu more interesting. And he has a legacy, and he has a plan that his schools are open throughout the UK, throughout the world, and this new style that he has adapted gets taught in all the schools.
So what I like about what you've said is the adaptation. So it's not stringent. That it's either my way or the highway. And the best disciplines are based on that mindset, that the core discipline remains in place, but you adapt according to your own customs, cultures, etc., etc. So like you said at the beginning, it started off with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and then adaptations were made. Sorry, with Japanese Jiu Jitsu, adaptations were made for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, both renowned, both fully respected. That does not take away anything from the, should we say, the standing of Japanese Jiu Jitsu. And as students, is that what you said? As students become accomplished and they become tutors themselves and they become black belts, they adapt it slightly to suit and fit their own communities. So obviously our culture, our mindset is very different in Britain. So what you would do is once you become a black belt, like you said, Coach Bradley Hill, he will have schools all over the place. but he will make necessary adjustments.
Yeah, so he's added his own style.
Excellent.
He wants so his own style of British Jiu-Jitsu, his own versions, his own courses that he's adapted. What happens basically is in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it takes roughly 10 years, say, to get your black belt. Some people wait 10 years to open up their schools. Some people try and do it earlier. For example, I was a white belt. When I started, I was a white belt. But I was thinking of starting up my own school, which is not very common. And you would ask why I'm doing that at such a early stage of my jiu-jitsu career. But I was fixated on the stance that I want to, empower the communities. I want to make a change. You don't have to be a black belt to start up a jiu-jitsu club. Yes, we need the guidance of seniors, black belts, brown belts, or even higher. But for you to start your ambition, your dreams of doing good in the community, you don't have to wait. You can start immediately, and that's the difference that I made is starting up early. Yeah, so I just wanted to add that on.
So during the course of the weekend, Coach H, what he did was he launched the Grapple Hub in association, in partnership with Team MC. Now, the main driver, and I'm saying this as a sports presenter, not because of any favoritism of my relationship with the main driver behind this wonderful initiative is Coach H. I had the pleasure and honor of being invited as a guest to the grand opening at Team MC headquarters in Whitechapel, where I was witness to some of the fantastic programs that are taking place. There was a grappling activity, there was training taking place between two groups of fighters. The teachers and instructors were also present there. I noted the easygoing yet respectful relationship between the students. So there was full respect between students and teachers, but not to the extent that it almost became regimental, because as we all know that sometimes that, especially when you're involved in a contact sport such as that, can be detrimental. So I noticed that the balance and the flow of the respect and the interaction between the students and the course instructors and the black belts was very, very positive. The interaction and the communication between the students was excellent as well. Now, this is the launch of the Grapple Hub. Where did you come up with the name, the Grapple Hub?
The Grapple Hub.
Excellent name, by the way, Coach.
Yeah. So I wanted to create a name, a brand that will resonate with the community and at the same time give an identity for Jiu-Jitsu. So we was coming up with various names. We had other names in place, but the Grapple Hub, we was coming up with like the Grappler's Cave. There's other clubs very similar. They got very similar names. I said, so what could we do? What could we call it that would resonate both with the community and spark the interest for Jiu-Jitsu? So I came up with the name of the Grapple Hub. The reason why I kept Hub is because keeping the focus of the community in place. So we basically, for the participants who don't know, the Grapple Hub is based in Team MC's London headquarters. We are a charity that's doing innovative things such as cycling club, running club. Prior to that, we had a small boxing club. Now, I wanted to keep the focus to the community, so that's why I called it the Grapple Hub. Thanks to Team MC for believing in me, giving me the vision of allowing me to start this club up. Also, with the financial backing, I was able to do so.
Brilliant. And I'm very confident that you're going to do an astonishing and outstanding job for the community. So you have got yourself a cohort of students there and trainees who participate on a weekly basis. I myself was there to witness the fantastic work that's taking place. Now, if somebody wants to join up, so 3 quick questions I'm going to fire at you.
Yep.
Somebody who's established in sports but has no idea of jiu-jitsu, number one. females.
Yeah.
So they are females, and I'm not just talking about Muslim females, because a lot of people, what they tend to do, coach, is say, oh, it's always the Muslim females. They don't want to interact with men, this, that, the other. What they neglect to say is that females in general, there are a large number of females who just don't want to, they don't feel comfortable being in the presence of men, even when they go to the gym, because they think, you know what, they're being stared at. And it's difficult being a woman in an atmosphere like that, you know, because they're conscious. Men are conscious of their body. So imagine some women. So let's talk general. Let's not just talk about Muslims. So number one is people who are quite sporty and want to become involved with jiu-jitsu as an art and as a discipline, women and also youngsters. Are you catering, or do you hope to cater for these three different groups?
Okay, so at the moment we have a fundamentals program, which is perfect and ideal for entry level of beginners. It's 2 days a week, so it's not too demanding. That's ideal for beginners. We have all levels classes which run 4 days a week. That's for slightly intermediate and advanced, as well as the fundamentals guys. They can participate. At the moment, we haven't got just a women focused classes, but because of Tower Hamlets and the communities around us, especially the BAME communities, we are hoping to introduce women only and friendly classes led by female coaches. So that's on our agenda list. I'm very, very passionate about doing youth classes, children's classes that will start up hopefully very soon. So what we want to do is summer holidays coming up. I want to do a summer camp. I want to do a summer program that's going to target both children and teenagers. Especially, I want to work with the teenagers, the guys that transition from teenager to adulthood. I believe they need a lot of. That's a difficult time for teenagers, and also from going from children to teenagers. That's also a different transition
big transition
for
very challenging.
Yeah. So what I want to do is give children and teenagers a platform, and inshallah, if the protocols is right, we want to make these classes free and accessible.
Brilliant.
Because I made the promise that I will do my best to serve the community, especially the children and the young people. They deserve these services. And what's so unique about us is we're a jiu-jitsu club, but we're not for profit. We're a CIC company. We're a community interest company. Yes, we operate like a business, but the funds that's directly generated from the participants, it gets reinvested back into the club.
So you pump it back
into the club, and we also support our charitable causes. One of the big agendas that I had when I did the business plan and the proposal is to have women-friendly classes and summer camps, especially in the holidays. This is our time to serve and give back to the communities. And I made a promise, at least during the holidays, I will do something to give back to the children and the young people.
Right. So that sounds brilliant. Have you also thought about doing? You've got a wonderful center there.
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing lunchtime, for example? Now you're right on the border of the city.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually part of the city now. You know. So there's a whole range of clients there, city workers who come in from outside, who could participate in these activities. Also a good way to build bridges with the community. Have you actually put thought into that as well?
Yes, yeah, so there is plan at the moment. Our classes operate on most, say every evening of the weekday, and we apart from Saturday, we operate 6 days a week. We have evening classes. On a Sunday, we have afternoon class. What we want to do is operate on a full capacity. So that means having lunchtime sessions, having morning sessions, and having after school clubs. That is in the pipeline. We're just we're starting small, and hopefully with a grassroots into the community very soon. We will have more classes coming up very soon.
So, Coach, before I wrap up, I'm going to give you an opportunity to stare into the camera and offer some advice, guidance, counseling to any potential youngsters or young people or even oldsters who want to join. You know, let's not discriminate against people based on their ages. Or so anybody who wishes to join, somebody who may be looking for inspiration and may receive that whilst watching you talk about your passion on camera as well. So over to you now.
Okay, so one advice that I like to say is, which was given to me by my coach Lee Hammersley in boxing. He said, if you believe in yourself, 50% of the work is already done. The other 50% of half is you going out there and making it happen. What I want to say to the participants, it's never too late to start something, to pursue your dreams or your ambitions, or to try a new sport. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for capacity, and hopefully you can have that inspiration and drive to do something and to have a positive change. Our doors are open, so please feel free to contact me at the the Grappling Hub. And also, if you want to get involved in community work, please do get in touch. Reach out to me on social media, I'm Coach H, or via Muslim Charity. So I leave that. I end with that.
So there you've heard it. You've heard it all now. It's been a pleasure inviting Coach H into the studio here today. What I want to do before I wrap up is, if you are an educator or if you are a community organization looking to source out your summer programs to a bona fide sporting project. So we have a lot of football, we have a lot of community cricket in the community. There's still space for other sports and disciplines like Jiu Jitsu, for example, and the Grapple Hub. There's space for running activities, litter picking, you name it. There's so many activities that can be actually brought in and introduced to members of our community. So if you are a head teacher in a school, or if you are a sporting or youth organization and you would like to introduce the Grapple Hub to your students, please do get in touch. On Instagram, it's at the Grapple Hub. So you can contact Coach H via there, but you can also find him on Facebook using this link as well. If you've got any queries direct to me, you can also message me and I will pass them on swiftly. I'm not on commission with Coach H, so I'll be happy to pass them on and share details amongst yourselves as well. What I found very interesting talking to somebody I've known for a very, very long time is how sports has shaped his life. But also, if we look at it from a broader perspective, how sport has shaped our lives, how sport plays a crucial role in our everyday being, how important it is for us to use sports as a stepping stone to positive and further success. So what I would like to do is wish Coach H, Team MC, and the Grapple Hub
Thank you.
the greatest success going forward. I know the community will embrace you, and you will have lots of opportunities to engage with various members of our community. In fact, I can see the Grapple Hub having a problem in the future where their facilities may not be enough to cater for everybody. That would be a wonderful problem to have. So from me and Coach H, it's goodbye. Thanks for watching. This is Emdad, your host, and it's goodbye from The Sports Show.